it has all the contents for this file inside this the directory or the folder called 2. So because it's done, let me click finish, and let me just bring up this page, the contents in front of you. So if you look carefully on the left side, you'll see there are several folders, and there are several types of file with the extension of JS, MD, TXT, JSON, and it has got the folders like SRC, DIST, and you can even find tests in here. So there are a lot of things going on inside this master directory or this project that we created. Now, in order to navigate to the index file, you should open up dist file, and you'll find the index.html. So whenever your browser wants to open up the home page or the landing page or the first page of your website, it's always going to look at something called index.html. So this is basically the home page for your website. So I've got this opened up. Let's open this up again. And you'll find a lot of things going on here. They have added all this support. It's an HTML5 declaration, and you can also see that they're also using the doc type declaration in lowercase form. They have already provided you with the Apple icon. You can even add your own icons in here for other devices. They've also included 2 CSS style sheets, and they belong inside this directory called CSS. So we can find this directory inside this in here. So this directory has both of these CSS style sheets, and it has also got a JavaScript modernizer component inside it. So let's not get too confused over this. Now there are also script elements, and they have also defined a script function. They've called the script function. Yep, they have used the script function at the bottom of the body. Now in here you see 2 styles of declaring scripts in your document. The first way is providing your information or the script inside the head part or the head elements that appear at the beginning of your HTML document. Now they have also provided another script element and a JavaScript script element inside the body, and it has been declared at the very bottom. Now the difference, it has actually got a difference when it's going to be loaded on your browser. So whenever your browser encounters a page, then it's obviously going to read something starting at the doc type declaration. Then it's going to look at line 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to read line by line. So when it reaches this first script element at line 15, it's going to bring up this modernizer. This modernizer is actually being contained inside this JS folder, or this is the short form for JavaScript, and it's contained in another folder called vendor. You can find this vendor folder in here, and inside this vendor folder you find this script a JavaScript file, and that's called modernizer 2.8.3, and this min actually means it's a minified version. So the minified version saves a lot of time when it's going to be loaded. Now when the browser encounters this first script element, it's going to bring that up, and it's going to load that script element on your browser before going to this body section. So the body section actually needs to wait until this entire JavaScript code has been executed. So when it has finished execution, It's then going to move on to this body section because it encounters, or it finds that it has reached the end of the head part, and it moves on to the body part. So the body part has got all this commands, and it's a condition. Actually, it's not a command. It's used to provide information for IE specific browsers. So if it's telling if less than information Internet Explorer 8, which means if the versions are like Internet Explorer 5, 6, 7, if the versions are less than 8, then you need to print this up on the browser. Otherwise, if it's not, then you are going to print the rest of the section on if it's other browser like Safari, Chrome, Opera, then you have the Mozilla. So these sections are actually for this section is actually for the it's for the browsers, the web browsers like Safari, Chrome, and it has also got functionality for the Mozilla. But this is explicitly for the Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorers that are of the version that are of the version starting from 5, 6, 7, not more than 8. So it's not even 8 yet. So let's go back to the script discussion. So after it has done execution, after it has worked with this modernizer script, or this first script that appears at the head section, it's going to print out this paragraph. Then again, at the end, when it reaches the end of the body section, it sees that there are several other scripts. One of the scripts is calling another JavaScript file from a remote server. If you look carefully, it's actually inside a remote server that's hosted somewhere else, not on my machine, because you can tell that by looking at the protocol that's with the SSL there. It is an HTTPS protocol, and it's hosted somewhere in Google's domain. You don't need to understand all of that, but you just need to understand that this is hosted inside a remote server and it's calling this JavaScript file through the internet or through the network. But whenever it finds something with this JS, starting with this JS or some random arbitrary name of a folder, then you will obviously understand that folder is residing inside the file system. So this JS is a relative path. So there are actually two types of path. One is the absolute path and the relative path. So relative path means in relation with this document. If you look carefully, let me just minimize this part. And if you look carefully, this index and this index.html file is at the same level as this. Let me minimize this. At the same level of this JS folder. So they are both contained in this dist directory. So they are at the same level. But the vendor folder is not at the same level as the index.html file. It's hosted, or it's housed inside this JS folder. So we are first referencing the JS folder. That's why we're not providing any sort of protocol or something else. We're just saying, look at the current directory, of dist and find the JS folder. We're telling that to the browser. So the browser finds that there is a folder called JS, and then we're also sorry for that. We're also telling the browser then when you find this JS, then you need to find another folder called vendor. So it finds that there is another folder called vendor, and then we're also telling the browser that when you find that folder called vendor, then look into the folder, and you must be looking for a JavaScript file named as modernizer-2.8.3.min. and it needs to have an extension of JS. So the browser looks inside this folder and finds that there is something called Modernizer with all the extensions. So it then prints all, it then brings up that JavaScript code and prints them or executes them on this specific index.html document. So the same thing happens when you call another script from a remote server. Now what it does, your file is going to connect to the internet. I mean, the browser is going to connect to the internet. It's going to send a request to the Google's domain, in this domain obviously, and it's going to ask that domain whether you have a file called jquery.min.js that is housed inside all these folders. These are specific folders: Ajax, libs, jQuery, and this version number. These are independent folders. So it's going to ask the Google's domain whether you have that, and if you do, then please send that file as a response for this web page. So it will send, the Google server is going to send that to your browser as a response, and your browser is going to execute that script. Then again, it encounters something else, a different form of script element. So in the script element, we are not bringing a remote resource. We are not bringing any sort of remote resource from our